Good morning.
Hey guys, we're gonna have to adjust our lights and stuff in here.
Well, I guess I'll have to use my different camera. Why is the camera not working?
We're on mute. Eric, the microphone's working.
Oh, that's lovely. Y'all like my singing this morning?
Now we missed that part. The internet
Well,
protected us.
Thank the Lord.
We've got one person in front of you guys, I believe, and then we'll be to you in just a few minutes if that'll work.
Awesome. Sounds good.
All right. You ready, Counselor?
I'm ready.
Madam Chair?
Ready. Good morning. How are you doing?
We're going to kick off this meeting of the board's informal conference. It is August 19th at 9:03 in the morning. With us today for board members, we have Dr. Rodney Richmond, Dr. Brian Jolly, Dr. Lenore Newsom, who's the chair of our informal committee, Dr. Clint Boone. On the staff side, I'm here, as well as Ashley Vales, who's our legal counsel, and we have some of our inspector investigators that will be in and out. Let me turn this off. There we go. And who are you with us today? If you hit the push button, it'll turn green, which means go. And just release. There you go.
Hey, my name is Danielle Irvin.
Danielle Irvin. So she is under number 1. So Miss Irvin, you've just kind of been told who all is in front of you talking today. A couple of quick housekeeping things about this procedure. We call this an informal conference because it's basically a conversation back and forth between you and the board. In this, you had submitted an application to be a pharmacy technician. On the application, you told us nothing would come back, but something did. So board members are going to talk to you about that in a minute.
Yes.
At the end of the conversation, they could come up with any one of a number of decisions. They could say they would vote to approve your application, to deny your application, to table it and reconsider it at a future date. The most important thing for you is whatever they say, you can either agree with it or disagree with it. If you agree with it, we go forth with what the board members tell us. If you disagree, it's your chance to either say, kind of forget this and walk away, or to request a hearing before the full board at a later date. Full board is all 8 board members. It's a more formal procedure where we swear everybody in. There's a court reporter. It's a little bit more like going to court in its formality. So I always ask, do you understand why you're here today?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any questions about how this process works?
No, sir.
Okay. Recognizing, Danielle, that you've never been in front of this board, at any point during, if you've got a question, you need some clarification on anything, raise your hand, get our attention. We want to help answer any questions that you've got.
Okay.
Okay. Ms. Vales?
Ms. Irvin applied for her pharmacy technician license. On her application, she checked no to the question about arrests and no to the question about having a case expunged. We ran her criminal background check, and one incident appeared, an arrest on April 11th of 2015 for a battery 3rd degree Class A misdemeanor. According to her statement, she got into a fight with a girl over a guy that she once dated. She pleaded guilty to that charge when she went to court and was sentenced to fine and court costs. And it appears from the paperwork that she's met all her obligations with the court.
All right. Can you tell us about what happened in April of 15?
Okay. Me and my cousin was on our way to the park. She was 18, I was 19. And on our way there, a group of girls had jumped out and we got into an altercation and with words. And then next thing I know, she swung and we got into a fight. And my cousin called the police. The police arrested me and her due to the fact that we was the only ones fighting. And when I went to court, I pleaded guilty at a later date. I think it was a week from that date. And I only had fine causes and I paid my fine off. And that.
So you haven't had any issues
Oh, no, ma'am.
Like,
I was
since-
19, yes, ma'am. I haven't had no issue. I haven't been in no trouble since then, besides traffic tickets, speeding, but nothing serious, no other charges since then.
Well, what brings you to the world of pharmacy? Why do you want to be a pharmacy technician?
I had always wanted to be a pharmacy technician. Like, it's since I was young, then I had kids and I finally got the chance to actually go to school and I just always wanted to be in the healthcare field. Yes, I always want to be always wanted to play a role in the healthcare and pharmacy. I know that you play a role in pharmacy as a pharmacy technician.
Okay, so what type of work are you currently doing?
Right now, I'm working at a facility with boys, a behavioral facility. But from there, I left, and I was working at Crest Park, a nursing home.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Does any board members have any questions for this candidate?
Are you a CNA?
No, sir, I was working in the kitchen.
Okay.
Yes,
All right. So you got into a fight, pled guilty, you owned it, you did it.
yes, sir.
It was 9 years ago.
Yes, sir.
But why did you not disclose it on your application?
Actually, when I filled it out, like I know it was 9 years ago. Actually, when you do a background check, they said after 7 years it wasn't be on my background. So when I did the application, like it's not like I wasn't being honest. It's just it was 9 years ago, and not that I knew it would come on my background. If I knew it would have, I would have put it on there. Because when I went to the healthcare field as working in the kitchen, they do background at Chris Park, working around, home, even at the as a mental health tech where I'm working at the moment, nothing came back. So it's like I wasn't being dishonest. I was being honest, but it's been 9 years. So that's why I didn't put Marcus.
Dr. John? Dr. Boone?
No.
What is the will of the
I'll make
board?
a motion. I move that we give Ms. Irving her pharmacy technician license.
Second the motion.
I have a motion by Dr. Richmond and a second by Dr. Jolly. Any further questions? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Any nays? The motion passes. So you'll get your license today.
Thank you.
Sign that first page. Okay. That's going to initial that for us. All right, we're back to this. All right, Eric, you guys ready?
Yes, sir.
Who's up first?
Whoever wants to go first.
So let's go alphabetically. So we've got two guys, Jake and Brian, and they are both in, I think, their initial 20 hours per week and asking to increase their number of hours. Is that correct, Eric?
That is correct. And these guys have made a lot of great progress. They were both working in jobs that were not related to pharmacy, and we're finally able to get advocacy from our group and get allowed by you guys to go back to work part-time, and they're handling that very well. The pharmacy support group would advocate for them to increase their hours to 32 hours a week and see how that goes.
And just for the board members, the increase from 20 to 32 also removes the immediate supervision by another pharmacist. So they would actually be able to work at times alone up to the 32 hours a week. So, well, we'll pull up Jake first. Jake, tell us what's going on since we saw you last.
Hey, Dr. Kirtley. Just want to thank you guys for hearing us today. So actually, I got in the monitoring program July 27th of 23. Think February meeting, I requested to go back to work and get my 20 hours. And then in June, I actually requested for 32. So I'd be requesting full time today. Yeah, so I work at the drug room still. Love working there. Um, there's a need for extra hours for me. I would hope to add a 9 hour day to my schedule. Right now, I'm only available to work 28 and a half hours a week. So I've been doing that, been handling it well. If any stress comes up, kind of like probably today's going to happen on a full moon on a Monday, I go to God. I go to God. I go to my sponsor. I even go to my coworkers and tell them what's going on, and we work through it. So I'm still learning, but it hasn't been very stressful at all. I'm thoroughly enjoying being back in the pharmacy again. As far as my program goes, meeting all the requirements plus some. I've got a sponsee now that I take care of. I still contact my sponsor several times a week. So everything's going good, and I'm hoping to add a day to my schedule today. So
What
All right.
questions you guys have for it?
I've got one. Since you brought that up first, what do you do when you have those stressful blue moon days? What do you do? What is your out?
um, I have a routine. Well, first of all, I pray about it. And then I talk to my sponsor about it. See like what my part was in the situation. And then I just try to pray and fix like what's going on in my mind and my life that led me to have a bad day. And it usually works out fine. And coworkers, I've got really supportive coworkers. I speak with them about my thoughts and feelings, and they assure me I'm doing a great job because the nature of our situations is to kind of be down on ourselves, and everybody just assures me you're doing a great job. You're fine. I just have a really good support group that I'm able to speak with about things and get everything ironed out.
Okay, great to hear that you have those great coping skills and have people around you that will support you. Great. Does anybody else have any comments? Are we in favor of him working more? Okay, Dr. Jones. Okay.
Make a motion that we allow Jake to go back to increase his hours from 32 to 40.
Full time
Full-time.
is what we usually, because
Okay.
there are times they will be working more than 40.
Okay, have a motion by Dr. Boone and a motion by Dr. Jolly and a second by Dr. Boone to increase hours. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion passes. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, Brian.
Hey, I'm Brian. Sobriety date is September 17th, 23. I came, guys, I think it was June 5th, and requested, had advocacy from the support group and requested the 20 hours. And thank you guys for granting that to me. Since then, I've been working the 20 hours. It's split between two different health marks in Hot Springs Village. Things have been going great. I am here today requesting those hours be increased to 32 hours. And as far as my program goes, similar to Jake, I'm doing the required meetings plus some volunteer work. I'm adding on the volunteer work. Things are going great. I I have a sponsor. I don't have a sponsee yet. The groups that I'm in are kind of small, so I haven't had a chance to sponsor anyone yet. But just Saturday got 11 months, so I was very happy and proud of that. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to to increasing the hours. So thank you guys.
Okay, I've got a question. What are your coping mechanisms when you have your Blue Moon Day?
Yeah, my biggest thing is, is trying to always think of something positive, something that I'm grateful for, thankful for, and trying to focus on that rather than the negatives, because I know those negative thoughts, will lead to negative emotions and behaviors. So that's my biggest thing is just I try to usually not every day, but several times a week, just sit down and just make a list of things that I'm grateful for. So, and try to focus on that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else have any comments?
There's nothing else. I'll make a motion that we approve Ron to go to 32 hours.
Okay, so a motion by Dr. Jolly and a second by Dr. Richmond. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. And I'd like to make sure that we have on record that Dr. Boone recused.
Okay. Dr. Crumball, anything else you guys have for us today?
Nope, I think we're rocking and rolling, and appreciate you guys working with us. And Jennifer sends her regards. She's normally the first one up to go to the Zoom, but she was working in the pharmacy today. So sorry you guys got me.
Well, and usually we're not doing this on Monday, it's Tuesday, which gives a little reprieve to a lot of us, but it's hit the ground running this week. Thank you guys for coming in. Congratulations, guys. Let us know if there's any questions you have or anything else you need from us. Yeah, Ashley will send you both a letter, so we'll have it in your file as well.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Perfect. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
John, the name that's in the notes section, is that not? Oh, that's their last names.
Yeah, that's just.
Okay, I thought that was, okay.
We put those there so we would track who we're going to have in case anybody else showed up. Anybody else here yet? Doesn't look like anybody's early. So for our board and for anyone else that is listening, I sent you guys the list of potential drugs for PA criteria. Was everybody able to open that? Okay, so what we'll do tomorrow afternoon, we've got 2 members of the medical board that will join, whichever of us can remain at 3 o'clock. We will need to have a hard stop tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock for that. And my plan is, as mentioned, is to go over real quick just the salient parts of that Act 575 of 2023 that I had sent to you guys, which is those last couple of pages. And then we have the list of drugs. As we were previously indicated by both medical board and pharmacy board, they're organized into 2 different groups, basically. One is drugs that are routinely above $5,000 per either month or episode of care, and the ones below. We had received some, everyone who has submitted, I've basically sent back and said, give us some more details on stuff. And these 2 had resubmitted in time to get it on this agenda, where they gave specific reasoning for if it's a criteria 2A or a 2B, a safety issue or a off-label use or something like that. I anticipate that most of the discussion that we have will probably be on those drugs under $5,000 with those details. Because I mean, they range from $4,800 to like $6 on those. So 2 medical board members will be joining us via Zoom at the end of their practice day.
Anything above 5,000, is it an automatic PA?
It's up to the group.
Okay.
I mean,
Because I know we talked about that cutoff, and I don't know where it ended up landing. I I was thinking in my mind, anything under 5,000, we needed, they could still request it require a PA. So
When we did it, I think 5,000 was kind of the number that we landed on that could be anywhere from 40 to 60% of the drug mix, but it's a real number. It's, when you're talking $60,000 a year potentially or above 5,000. But quite frankly, I did not know what all drugs would pop in at that price point. Like there were a lot of them that I knew, and then there were some of them that actually surprised me that would be above that now. So the group's going to get to look at the list overall.
Yeah.
And the group could say, all this over $5,000 we are fine with. They could say, there are drugs in this mix that are between $5,000 and $7,000 that we want to individually pull out and ask for more details for the next meeting. If there's some that you don't think, and our physician partners may have some opinions on that as well. But we do have the additional details on all of it that's below. It was an interesting read for me.
What were you able to use to evaluate it? Was it like NADAC or
The submitters have to do it.
Okay.
I mean, and at first, when we got like a first initial thing, it was just, above 5,000, below 5,000. I was like, this is not going to work. Like the committee's going to want to see some specific pricing, and our staff is not going to try to go figure out reimbursement on, I don't know, this is 800 and something drugs so far. I've got another list that is going to come in that's another like 700. Like we can't do that.
We're not in any way endorsing prices that they give us.
No.
In any way. We're just using that as a barometer.
Yeah. Yeah. It's their self-reporting on what they are having to pay, or if they haven't run a claim in a recent time period, what they estimate the cost would be at this time. Well, it should not be any specific pharmacy. It should be just what their claims cost them on the insurance side. I mean, the thing is, if it's a PBM, they can't pay themselves more than they pay somebody else in Arkansas. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. They could do it. It's just illegal. And you guys,
the plan level, not
yes, yeah, it's the plan level, not the pharmacy level. And I mean, you guys probably saw all the hearings that are coming on PBMs for paying below cost. I mean, it's coming next month. I think September 11th, 12th, maybe 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th. But the first couple are September 11th and 12th. What else do you have, Counselor? Okay.
At least we know that if they use their reimbursement amounts, there shouldn't be a whole lot of margin in there.
I know.
Should be pretty close to acquisition cost.
I mean, you would think it is. And here's the thing, if we find out later that these lists were submitted with false information, then, the committee can revisit it. I mean, there's some difference based on dosing, I know for some of them, but you've got 2 or 3 companies that we'll see that submit similar drugs. They should have similar prices. You would think they do.
How many different PBMs are part of this assessment tomorrow?
Who? It's actually, it's one PBM and then one insurance company. And the insurance company may engage multiple PBMs. Because in reality, some insurance companies have like pharmacy teams that I think try to manage that, and others just turn it straight over to the PBM. So our next person up is at 10 o'clock. If they get here a few minutes early, I'd say we could probably start a few minutes early. Other than that, probably take a quick break. All right, we'll be back as soon as our 10 o'clock shows up. We've got 2 scheduled in. Thank you.
Get my jacket.
Uh,
That's cool. Jennifer, can you get us back going? I got it. Thanks, Jennifer. All right, we've got Ms. Johnson. Lost all my stuff. I know. Numbers that gonna be?
How are you this morning?
Hi, how are you?
All right.
All right. Ms. Johnson, I'm John Kirtley. I'm the Director of the Board of Pharmacy. I'm going to tell you real quick who you're talking to and a couple of things about our procedure this morning. On this side of the table, we are staff members here at the board, myself and Ms. Bales, who's our legal counsel. On the other side, you have 4 of our board members who are decision makers for you today. Dr. Clint Boone, Dr. Lenore Newsom, who's the chair of the Informal Committee, Dr. Brian Jolly, and Dr. Rodney Richmond. In this process, we usually have people who are applicants, such as yourself, and on your application, we see that you told us nothing would come back, but something did come back in your background that the board member is going to want to talk to you about in just a minute. The more important thing about this is whatever questions or whatever decision they come up with at the end of this discussion, they could say they vote to approve your application, deny your application, reconsider it in some period of time, or ask for other information. Whatever they decide, you can either agree or disagree with. If you agree with it, we go forth with exactly what they've asked us to do. If you disagree, you could either request a hearing before the full board at a later date, which is all 8 board members, hearing officer, court reporter, everybody gets sworn in. It's just a little more formal process, or you could kind of say, forget this and walk away. So always ask, do you know why you're here today?
I do.
Okay. Do you have any questions about how this works?
I don't.
At any point during this, realizing you haven't sat in that chair before, if you've got a question about something, by all means, wave your hands, raise it, get our attention, and ask any questions you got. We'll be happy to try to help answer them.
Okay.
We'll turn it over to Ms. Bales, and then the board members will want to talk to you.
Ms. Johnson is here. She filled out her pharmacy tech application for reinstatement. In that application, she marked no with respect to has she ever been arrested. We ran her background check and there was something that came back from 2010, a domestic battery, a Class A misdemeanor. According to Ms. Johnson's statement, she got into a disagreement with a family member that turned into a physical altercation. Unbeknownst to her, the family member pressed charges against her and a warrant was issued for her arrest. She turned herself in on the warrant and then a no contact order was issued against her for the family member. She appeared in court on the matter and was set for trial on January 30th, 2020. At that time, the case was passed for 12 months and the no contact order was removed. After the 12 months, without her getting into any other trouble, the case was dismissed.
All right, you want to tell us about this incident?
Okay. So it was an incident between my mom and I. There was the witness that's on the paperwork. He was involved in it as well. I went over there. We had a conversation about her being used pretty much. It escalated, words were exchanged. She hit me with a broom and I retaliated. And since after that happened, like the next week, I apologized and we were just fine. So I didn't know that she had called the police. I didn't know there was a warrant out. I didn't know any of that had happened. Because we were still in contact. So I got a call from my dad's girlfriend and she told me that the police were looking for me. I was at work. She told me the police were looking for me. I asked her why. And she told me because there was a warrant out. So that same day I went and turned myself in. And I didn't know that there was a no contact order until that day as well. Because my mom and I, we had worked it out. We were still in communication, going out to eat, everything. So that's why I didn't disclose it, because the case was dismissed and I just thought it was something we had moved past. Yeah.
I have a question if I could.
It's going to,
What did you do to retaliate?
Oh, I hit her back.
Like,
She hit me.
fist or,
Yeah, fixed.
okay, was she injured?
No, not to my knowledge.
Okay. God.
And so your relationship is okay now?
Yes, I'm saying like the next week, we were just fine as if nothing had happened. We talked about it. I apologized. We moved forward from that. So it was just all new information that the police was looking for me. And we still talk now. We in the same household. So
Okay,
yes.
all right.
Mhm.
So what kind of work are you currently doing?
I work at Isler Family Dentistry in a dental office, treatment plan coordinator.
Okay, so why do you want to be a pharmacy technician?
Because for one, I'm not okay with the hours that I'm working now. I only work Monday through Thursday. And it's not even a full 8 hours. I was under the impression that it was a full-time job, since the business hours are 8 to 4:30, but we leave whenever the last patient leaves. So if the last patient is done at 2:30, then we're out by 2:30, and I'm still not getting paid for that full day. And of course, it's only Monday through Thursday. So I'm looking for something that's more steady, and to get into something that I know I'll be able to grow in and just be successful.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve, Ms. Johnson's, technician application.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Dr. Jolly and a second by Dr. Boone. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The motion passes. You'll get your license today.
Thank you.
What pharmacy were you working in before?
I actually wasn't working in the pharmacy.
Okay, you just never.
I went straight to dental. I
got
applied for my license, then I went to school for dental assistant.
Okay.
So I went to the dental field after that, and I didn't like the dental assistant.
I understand.
So I went to- Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jennifer, we've got somebody else on Zoom with us. I don't know if that's someone with an appointment or if that is just someone watching. I don't see that name anywhere on here. Not knowing who that is, I'll put them in the waiting room. And if you're just here to watch, you can do that on our YouTube channel.
Good morning. Good morning.
Okay, Gunner, tab number 3. All right, let's see. Yep, I've got it. How are you doing, Ms. Jenkins?
I'm pretty good.
Good deal. I'm John Kirtley. I'm the director of the Board of Pharmacy. I'm going to tell you who all you're talking to at this table and just a couple things about our procedure this morning. On this side, we work here at the board, myself, and then Ms. Bales is our legal counsel. She's our attorney here. On the other side, we have 4 of our pharmacy board members who are decision makers about your application. We've got Dr. Clint Boone, Dr. Lenore Newsom, who is our informal conference chair. We've got Dr. Brian Jolly and Dr. Rodney Richmond. On yours, it looks like we had an application that you submitted, and you did let us know that something might come back on it. So thank you for letting us know that. And that's part of what the board members are going to talk to you about here in just a little bit. In this procedure, after they discuss this with you, they are going to come up with some decision about your application. They could say to approve it, to deny it, to say we're going to sit on it and might reconsider at a future date. We don't know what they're going to say until they come to that point. Most importantly for you, whatever they decide to do, you can either agree with it or disagree with it. If you agree with it, we go forth with whatever they've asked us to do. If you disagree, you kind of have 2 choices. One is to say, forget this and walk away. The other is to request a hearing before the full board at a later date. Full board is all 8 members, court reporter, hearing officer, and everybody gets sworn in. It's just a more formal procedure than us talking today, even though I know this feels pretty formal. I always ask two questions. Do you know why you're here today?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any questions about how this works?
No, sir.
At any point in this, realizing you haven't been in that chair before, if you've got a question about how this works or anything, raise your hand, get our attention, ask us any questions. We'll do our best to help answer them for you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, let Ms. Bales give us an overview while we're here, and then the board members will have some questions for you.
Ms. Jenkins applied to be a pharmacy technician. In her application, she did disclose that she had been arrested or cited for criminal offense. We ran her background check. There were 3 separate incidents that came up. The first one on April 14th, 2016. She was arrested for possession of controlled substance in Texas. According to her statement, she was pulled over for a traffic offense and had possession of a small amount of marijuana. The disposition was deferred upon payment of her fines and court costs and community supervision, and the charge was dismissed in 2016, I think, a year later. Then on October 22nd, 2018, she was arrested on a warrant for failure to appear in court on traffic offenses, and she was sentenced to pay a fine and court cost. And on January 23rd, 2022, she was arrested for domestic battery in the 3rd degree and misdemeanor. According to the police report, she was removing her personal items from a home she shared with her boyfriend, and things became physical. Her boyfriend had scratches and bruises on his face. She went to court and was sentenced to fine and court costs on that charge, and she's complied with all the court orders.
All right, you want to tell us about all of this?
I'll just go backwards. As far as the domestic goes, it was a situation where I was ready to move out of my home, and my partner then wasn't happy with that. And so in the midst of me trying to get my things just became physical. I was packing, he was unpacking, and kind of keeping me out of the way of getting out the door, getting my things and leaving. And due to that physical and me not being able to get my things, I called the police and asked them to come assist me with getting my belongings. And because they noticed scratches on the both of us, they took both of us in. As far as the failure to appear, it was a time when I was pregnant. I had lost my vehicle after being cited for no registration, I believe, or expired tags. And at the time of the court date, I was having my baby, so I wasn't able to go. And so later on, later on when I was driving, I ended up being pulled over and told that I had a warrant out for my arrest. And so they took me down for about an hour, and then they released me, and I just got put on a payment plan. When I was pulled over in Texas, I was speeding. They noticed certain things in my vehicle that led to them to ask about the possession. And ultimately I told them, hey, I do have something in the car. And they took me, and I spent the night in jail and bonded myself out the next day.
Okay, so what are you currently doing for work?
I work at a daycare where my children go. It's close to my home. I had recently obtained my esthetician license, so I just started to do something to be able to fund myself until I'm able to 100% move into being an entrepreneur.
Why pharmacy technician?
It was just something extra that I found interesting to do. It's not a hardworking job. I feel like the hours kind of coincide with my kids' schedule, so I didn't want to stress myself too much about working a job outside of the things that I love.
Okay, it is a hardworking job.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It's not as simple as it seems.
Yes, ma'am.
When's the last time you used marijuana?
It has been over a year. Just transitioning out of that domestic situation, I needed something, but I recently started therapy. So it's working out in my favor.
Good. Want to be sure you understand you can't use marijuana, even like medical marijuana card or anything, and because it has potential impairment. it's a safety, security conscious issue when you're dealing with prescription drugs and
Yes,
people's
sir.
health.
Understood.
Do you have a medical marijuana card?
No, sir.
Well, there's a number of things, but I think she's been forthright. My main concern was marijuana use, but you say you haven't used in over a year. You've been admonished, you don't have a marijuana card, and you realize that you would not be able to do both.
Right.
While you may have the constitutional right to have access to marijuana if it's approved, you can't do this job and use marijuana.
I think for me, it's gonna be a no. I think there's too much and too recent, for my comfort, so.
I would, I would agree to do it informally. I think it's too much. I'd rather the whole board see it and have input on it with just the fact that it has been somewhat recent. I think I would defer to the full board if that's.
That would probably be a motion to table it where it's not a
We'll deny
denial.
it today. We'll just table it.
And give things a little bit more time.
I think between now and then, I would maybe research the profession a little bit more and maybe try to find someone that works in a pharmacy, talk to them, find out what a day in the life is. Because like Dr. Newsom said, it's not an easy job. It's an intense job and very busy job. So I'm not telling you no today. I agree with Dr. Boone. I think it needs to come before full board rather than be resolved in an informal.
The way I'm taking what they're saying is they're not going to make a decision today. They're going to table it. And that way you don't have a negative decision or a positive decision. So if someone else asks you, you ever had an application denied, you don't have to say yes. You could still say no. So what they're basically saying is if you wanted to pursue it, then you would have to request a formal hearing before the full board at a later date. So what we do is our attorney would send you a letter kind of with those details for you to take a look at. Okay. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
No, no. My lights on. No,
Already.
Okay.
Let's see. No, we've got, I'm on board.
Good.
That's across the
Potatoes,
street.
I'm in.
Yeah, right across the street.
Okay, across the street. Oh, yeah. Oh,
So I
yeah.
got dinner and lunch. all
Okay.
locked out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sounds like me, doesn't it?
It's past 10, that's allowed.
Okay, so the next one's not till 10:30.
All right. So we
Running
got
a
a brief break.
Okay.
All right. Around your chair here.
No, I'm always in the way.
Peñuelas.
And it helps if I turn my microphone on as well. But as we go through, what I'll do is I'll turn it over to Ms. Vale. She'll give the board members a brief overview of your application, and then they're just going to want to talk to you about it. Most importantly for you, after the discussion, they're going to make some decision on what they want to do with your application. It could be to approve it, it could be to deny it, it could be to say we're going to table it and would want the whole board to consider it. But whatever decision they come up with, you can either agree or disagree with. If you agree with it, we go forth with whatever they've asked us to do. If you disagree, you kind of have two choices. One is to say, forget this, I'm done in pharmacy, and walk away. Or you could say you would like to have a hearing before the full board at a later date, which we call a formal hearing. It's a little more formal than this, although I know this feels pretty formal right now. But in that, it would be all 8 members of the board, a hearing officer, a court reporter. You swear everybody in, and it looks a little bit more like if you went to court. So I always ask 2 questions. Do you know why you're here today?
Yes,
All right, do you have any questions about how this works?
not at the moment.
That's a good way to put it, because I want to be sure if you do have a question about what is going on, by all means, raise your hand, get our attention, interrupt us, and ask any questions that you have, because we want to do our best to help answer them, realizing you've never been in that chair before. Okay. Ms. Bales?
Ms. Peñuelas actually has 2 applications pending in front of you. She has one pharmacy technician application that she submitted. Let's see. She submitted that application in February, and then in the interim, she's been admitted into pharmacy school. So she also has an intern application. The information is the same. She did disclose that there would be something that came up on her background. That she has a 2021 arrest for DUI and refusal to submit to the test. She went to court and pled no contest. On May 11th, 2022, she was sentenced to 3 years probation, 3 months DUI course, and fines and court costs. She's completed all of those requirements, except she has some time remaining on probation according to the paperwork. There's also something else that came back on her background from 2010, and we don't have any records on that, and Ms. Peñuelas does not recall being arrested for that, and if she did, she might have been a minor at that time. So we're not necessarily pursuing that. It was the DUI that brought her in front of the board today.
All right. You want to tell us about what happened on these incidences?
The 2010, I don't remember, and I was probably 14 at the time, so I don't know. But regarding the DUI, I was not experienced in drinking, and it was the day of the Super Bowl, and I made a really bad decision, and I do regret what I did, and I learned from it, and I've taken measures to make sure that that never happens again.
And tell us what brings you to Arkansas.
I got admitted into pharmacy school here, and that's why I'm here. Like, I applied to different pharmacy schools, and this is the one that I ultimately ended up choosing.
So which one of the pharmacy schools are you in?
The UAMS College of
Okay,
Pharmacy.
all righty. And have y'all started classes?
We start class today
Today, okay,
at 9 a.m.
okay.
Y'all had some orientation, I think, earlier in the summer.
Yes,
Did
we
you-
had 3 days of orientation last week. Pretty intense.
Actually, just to be clear, the cover page, I know you said we're not pursuing it, but just it is a question.
Mhm.
It says release to intoxication only.
Yeah, that's what it says, but I don't have any disposition. So what it would end up, where I read that, and this is from California, the way I read that is that the charges would be reduced to like a public intoxication.
I just voicing one concern, if she was 14 at the time and experience with alcohol over that period of time, I mean, that's a lot of exposure. Do you have problems with alcohol?
No, I don't have problems with alcohol. And I've never had interaction with the police in 2010. Like, I was a freshman in high school. I've never been arrested. In that time, I don't know what that charge is.
And that one, when she'd have been young enough, we wouldn't consider it anyway.
I'm just questioning and just making sure there's not a problem with alcohol is what I'm asking.
So in the 21, was it only alcohol? Was there marijuana, other drugs?
No.
Okay. And so in that one, did you get pulled over?
Yes, I was pulled over.
Right. And did field sobriety, breathalyzer?
They did field sobriety tests, yes.
All right. Then they arrested you and took you in and booked you?
And they did a blood draw.
Okay. How long did it take you to get out that day?
Within 24 hours.
Okay, so you got to spend the night and
Yes,
then have an initial appearance. Okay. What do you have to do for probation or anything like that now?
the conditions of my probation are that I cannot own a firearm. I cannot operate a vehicle under, the influence. I have to have like DOI insurance. And to my knowledge, like that's it.
So you don't have to like report in monthly or have,
If I had an interlock ignition device installed, yes,
Okay.
but that was not one of the conditions that I was given.
okay.
So you're on probation through May of next year, is that?
From the date of sentence, 2022 up to 2025.
So, Dr. Curley, how does it work for pharmacy school? Does she have to have an intern license next semester in order to continue her education?
My understanding is she has to have one in January for next semester.
Okay.
And so they generally want them to get as quickly as they can now, so they have them all on file. This one is a little strange because generally the board does not grant one if someone still has probation remaining. But she's already starting pharmacy school unbeknownst to probably us or them about that.
Is there a way to attach a probation to her intern license until her DUI probation is complete?
So, and I'm going to defer in part to council. We have had a couple of instances before where people would be given a provisional license because if you put it on probation, it's going to look like it has been disciplined. But what they would say is we will give you a provisional license and we want to see you back in June so that you are released from probation. So you would give them a limited length of permit and basically verbally tell her like, if you don't make it in pharmacy school or anything else, like we're only giving you a permit until this date instead of expected 6 months after graduation. And you could either have her come back in or just report to us to show that she's released from probation to then let the rest of it happen.
Okay.
But the only times I think I ever have really seen that was, you had somebody that they weren't just trying to be a technician, they were in pharmacy school, which means you do have other professional eyes on them.
Ms. Vales, any?
No, I think that'd be if the board saw that would be an option, I think that would be appropriate.
Would be willing to, if there's no other questions or discussion.
But keep in mind, she's applied for both pharmacy technician and
Intern,
intern.
but
With-
you could do that to both.
So if she got a provisional intern permit today, is there any advantage to having a technician permit also?
It would depend on where she was trying to work, if they wanted her to have a technician permit instead of the intern permit.
I guess I can, so
Ask her.
are you still wanting your technician permit, or are you primarily do you want your intern permit, or both? What is your request?
Both so that I can have broader opportunities for working because I may have to work while in pharmacy school because I have to support myself here in Arkansas since all my family and connections are in California.
I guess the concern I have on the technician part is that's not germane to her education. And so if we're going to make an exception for something that we would normally not, then I don't know if I'm comfortable making an exception for both unless you guys, I'm just thinking through it out loud. I can see a path for the intern
Yeah,
application.
well, it sounds like, I mean, the most pertinent thing for her, if she has an intern permit, most places would allow her to work as an intern unless there's some issue with ratio or slots for interns or something like that.
Yes, so
Yeah, I can't think of another way to record.
You can just table
the tech license until probation's
probation is
complete.
finished.
table that one through June and then grant the intern probation. No,
Or
I'm sorry, grant a provisional
provisional
Through
to a
the end
certain
of-
date.
to a certain date.
And I would say like, if May 11th is when we think that started, I'd say, you do June 1st. I don't think we have the exact date when was entered, do we?
She signed the police statement on May 12th, 2022. And in that statement, it says she's on probation for 3 years. So that's where I started counting.
And you could put a clause in there that if you have two choices on this. Do you just want her to let us know she's been released from probation, or do you want to see her again? Just let us know.
Just to let you know.
And with that clause, you could table the technician application and say that at whatever point that she gets off probation, she would be approvable for that as well. Because the technician one would actually expire in December. So she'd either have to renew it or she could reapply at that point.
What do you think about us granting the provisional through the end of June? Because we don't know what the dates are going to be on the board meeting. And then she can come back before us, but I don't think it would be to make a decision on the intern application. I would be okay with you guys as long as she provides whatever documentation that you want with you guys removing the provisional and giving her the permanent.
Yeah.
But if she wants to get her technician as well, she could come back before the board in that June meeting.
You'd make her come back.
We
if she
could
was off.
we could table it until
Do
then.
we need her to come back, or are we saying that once you've completed your probation, it's been 3 years?
Okay, yeah.
That's-
Then you guys just grant both if she still wants
Yeah.
both.
And
We're trying to prevent an application or from being denied, like from you having that on your record, like us denying your technician application today, and that's why we're talking about tabling it.
And you might be able to do an inquiry back home to see if they would release you from probation early since you haven't had anything happen. That pretty accurate statement.
Yeah, I think we talked about that. She looks like she's done all of her obligations
Yeah.
except for that time.
Except for the time.
Yeah.
You might be able to explain to them that you're living in another state now and that you've done that. Sometimes we have seen people get released early. So if that's the motion Dr. Jolly's making, the way I would take it is we will approve you an intern permit through like June the 30th of 25. And at whatever point you show us, whether it is next month or in May, that you're off probation, then we would extend that intern license to be like 6 months after we expect you to graduate. If you're off probation before December
Of this year.
of this year, December 31st, we could just then approve your technician application. I think it was a 24 application. Yeah.
Mhm.
If it's after December 31st into next year, you might have to reapply because they're only good for a year, but it would be approvable at that point without having to reappear.
Okay, so right now, at the moment, I only have like a provisional intern license up until
June
June
30th
30th of next year.
is what if they vote on that, that's what it'd be, which means it doesn't restrict you from working as an intern. It doesn't restrict you from being in school. It just has an earlier expiration date.
Okay, and will an employer, for example, right now they're looking for P1 students at the University of the Arkansas Children's Hospital.
Yeah.
Will they know based on that something happened?
I would be upfront and let them know that. Because I'm like, this is a public meeting and this is on YouTube, so they might see it. You've been perfectly honest with us from the get-go, which is a huge plus for you because most of the people that we've seen today so far that we will continue to see told us nothing would come back. You told us right up front, like, hey, I had this hiccup. I'm handling it as an adult. Like, you have been forthright with us. So if you just say, look, I have a provisional permit. I have no restrictions on it. It just expires June 30th. As soon as I finish this DUI probation from back in California, it will be extended past that. I just be upfront with them because someone's going to hear. And like, I tell, especially when I've taught students, like, while I think I'm a pretty nice guy, I've got plenty of people that don't like me very much and would love to say something like that about me, thinking I was hiding it, even though I wasn't. So stay ahead of it. I don't think anybody's going to hold it against you.
Okay, and if the probation is not ended and up until like the actual end
Yeah.
time that California has stated, do I just need to report back to you?
Yeah.
When
If-
it's done?
If
and then-
if Dr. Jolly gets a second, they vote for it, we would just say, whenever they release you on probation, whether that is next month or May, like they usually will, you might have to ask them because they may not automatically send it, but be sure you get a letter that like you are released from probation, have met all criteria. You send us a copy of that and we extend your expiration date.
Okay, so I would get the full intern
Yeah,
license?
it would just, and it would just have an expiration date that like your graduation is what, 28?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, it'd be like November of 28 instead of June of 25.
And then I would,
That's standard for all interns. Like, that's not a special thing for
Yeah.
you. That's
Yeah.
your standard process for any intern is
Yeah.
6 months after graduation.
Usually they would tell us your anticipated graduation would be May of 2028. And so we just have everybody expires in November of 28. Like
okay,
when Dr. Jolly and I went to school, which is history, but not quite ancient, like ours automatically expired in May or June of that year. And we had to redo it every year of pharmacy school. And then when I came to the board, which is also a long time ago, we changed it to where it was good your entire time at pharmacy school. So,
And I can't make any promises, but I feel like, knowing the employers that I know, I don't think not having a technician permit is gonna, there's places that are, again, I can't make any promises. I just know there's places that want interns and don't require a technician permit.
and we hope that possibly by the end of the year, it won't matter either way if
Right.
we're able to get our
Right.
rule through. I need to go refile. So that's the motion I have.
Based on all that discussion,
I
that's a
have
matter of on YouTube.
She would
That's my
have a
motion.
provisional intern license, and the only thing that's provisional is it would expire June 30th of 2025. And once she gets released from her probation, she'd be eligible to get a technician permit, and we would give her the full length of her intern permit.
And doesn't have to come before the board unless something where you guys.
No more
want to-
hiccups.
Yeah.
Okay, that's your motion. Do I get a second on that?
A second.
Okay, we have a motion by Dr. Jolly and a second by Dr. Boone. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The motion passes. So you understood?
Yes, I understand.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So we'll have our staff person that usually process that isn't here this morning. So what we'll do is we will process that and mail it to you.
Okay.
But you'll be good to go. You'll have it in the next few days.
The address on file is my new Arkansas address, correct?
Let's.
I just want to
We will
verify.
check that up front before you leave.
Okay,
All right.
sounds great. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks, Alexis.
Okay, welcome to the state of Arkansas.
Hey, good luck in school this semester.
Yes.
Have you found like your favorite restaurant locally yet and the best place to?
I like Limon, right? It's Limon, the one in Chanel Parkway by Yaya Zero Bistro.
I haven't tried that yet.
I hadn't tried it either.
Yeah. You found like the newest place none of us have been to.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Limon.
really awesome. You guys should
Okay.
try it.
Okay, what type of food?
It's Mexican food,
Okay.
but it's actually very good.
Yeah.
Is it authentic or it's not Tex-Mex, is it?
It is not Tex-Mex. It's, I feel like it's like high-end Mexican food. It's like, there's a twist to it.
I'll have to try that. That
Yeah.
sounds good.
There's a couple of good Mexican places up there.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
luck.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you guys.
Too. Limon.
I'd never heard of it.
I do.
Go hand me Lenore's, Mike.
Limon.
I'll fix it.
I'm assuming it's Limon.
Yeah. These batteries have cooled off enough, they might actually work now. That's just because you're high maintenance some days, Rodney. So am I. Let me get you two more.
Reasons there's a two in the line.
Yeah.
Right now. That's the issue is if you're working. Pharmacist in there at the time. So we'll be able to work. You just. That's one of the cashiers.
Come on.
This is Miss Coulter. We're going a little bit out of order, but since she's here.
Pull that up real quick.
Mhm.
Seven.
7, okay.
How you doing, Ms. Coulter?
Doing fine, how are you?
Doing well. I'm John Kirtley. I'm the director of the board. I'm going to tell you who you're talking to this morning and just a couple things about this procedure as we get started. On this side, myself and Ms. Bales, who's our legal counsel, we're both staff members here at the Board of Pharmacy. On the other side, we have 4 of our pharmacy board members that are decision makers here today. We have Dr. Clint Boone, Dr. Lenore Newsom, who's our chair of the informal conference, Dr. Brian Jolly, and Dr. Rodney Richmond. We're here today. You have an application to be a pharmacy technician, and you told us that nothing was going to come back, but we did find some stuff on your background that the board members are going to want to talk to you about and why you didn't tell us. In this process, I'll turn to Ms. Bales, which will give us an overview, and then the board members will want to talk to you about your application. At the end of talking to you, they'll make some decision. It could be to approve your application, to deny your application, to table it for some period of time. But whatever they come up with, you can either agree or disagree with. If you agree with it, we go forth with exactly what they've told us to do. If you disagree, you could either say, forget this and walk away from pharmacy, or you could request a formal hearing from the board at a future date. Formal hearing is all 8 board members, court reporter, hearing officer. We swear everybody in. It's just a more formal procedure that it kind of feels more like going to court than this. It's always asked, do you know why you're here today? Do you have any questions about how this works? Not yet. If you do have a question during this, by all means, wave your hands, get our attention, ask us any questions that you have, because we want to try our best to help answer those.
Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Bales?
All right, Ms. Coulter submitted her pharmacy technician application. She did not disclose that there would be any, that she had been arrested or cited on any criminal charges before. But we did her background check and there was one incident that came back from July 20th, 2015. She was arrested and charged with theft of property, a Class A misdemeanor. She pled no contest to that. She was sentenced to a suspended jail sentence, fine and court cost. Then later, and the next month, she was charged with revocation of her suspended sentence for failure to comply with the conditions of probation. She didn't do her community service, didn't get that started. She pled guilty to that and was sentenced again to fine and court costs and classes and to continue on the probation. She did eventually comply with those orders and the charge remains on her record, I think probably because of that revocation.
Okay, you want to tell us in your own words what happened?
Yeah. I was very young, hanging around the wrong people. And I do take responsibility for it, but I'm sorry I'm nervous, but yeah, I was just being young, thinking I could get away and do whatever I wanted to. But I've grown from that. I'm more mature from that. And oh, I'm sorry I'm nervous, but like I say, I do take responsibility because I shouldn't have been hanging around those friends. I shouldn't have chose those friends. You have any other questions?
So, have you completed everything with the courts?
Yeah, only thing I did complete was the probation and the suspended of the 365 days. I did complete that. Now with the community service, I probably didn't because like I say, I didn't have no way or something always was happening. So I had a lot going on back then. And I was able to attend community service every time.
Do you know of anything that you still owe the court?
I don't.
Not in terms of terms of any fines or costs or classes or probation? Ms. Fales, is community service part of, because I know that she appears she got in trouble for not doing the community service.
Yeah, and I think they converted that into probably a fine that she probably paid off instead of doing the actual. There's not a warrant out for her arrest for not completing anything. It looks like, and I'm just looking at the paperwork, but it looks like everything was sort of paid and she's done with them.
So what are you doing currently for work?
Well, right now, I work at McDonald's right now. I am a crew member and I also in school for esthetician, to be an esthetician. I work full time.
In school for what, I'm sorry?
Esthetician.
Esthetician. Okay.
What is that? Just out of curiosity.
It's basically where you do facials, massages, makeup, cosmetics, all that stuff.
Why do you want to be a technician?
Well, I've been wanting to go into business of my own. I want to work for myself. And so I chose to go to school because it's something that I'm passionate in. It's something that I want to do. It's something that I've been wanting to do. And I want to make a better living for me and my son. So that's why I really chose to go back to school.
You should go back to school?
Yes.
Okay, pharmacy technician is an on-the-job training job. You don't have to go to school.
Esthetician.
Oh, esthetician school, okay.
Yeah.
Got it wrong, sorry.
But you do want to be a pharmacy technician
Yes,
as well?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Ordered on your.
I didn't.
Have you looked into the do you know what the pharmacy technician job encompasses? Like if you you looked into it, or do you have particular places that you're thinking about that you want to work at?
Yes, I really want to do like CVS, Walgreens, those two, because that's really like the two that I use. Like if I get anything, medication, anything, those are my two favorite pharmacies that I do use. And like I've kind of done my research, not just all the way, but I'm like I say, I'm really interested in trying something new, and I'm really into doing pharmacy. Now I do have a friend that does pharmacy, and she kind of filled me in a little bit. So it's like I say, I'm just trying to make a better living for me and my family and my son as well. I'm a new mom, so I'm just trying to get out here and just try different things, just try to do what's best for me and my family.
Thank you. I'm okay with approving. I'll make a motion to approve.
A second.
We have a motion to approve by Dr. Jolly and a second by Dr. Boone. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Yes. Hey, you're gonna get your chance. Make the best of it.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate y'all. Thank you so much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Well, just a bit of advice. Pharmacy is it's a very exact, it's a highly regulated field. Fill out your paperwork the way. So if you're in the future, if you're asked questions, like if you have a background that you tested, better to report it and just own it.
Right. Thank you. Thank y'all. Y'all have a good
Thank
one.
you.
I think it had like.
Mm. Anybody hear anything from Gray?
Right.
Good morning.
Good morning. How's it going?
Chelsea?
Chelsea.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, Ms. Stevens, I'm John Burton, I'm the director of the pharmacy board. And I'm
Nice to meet you.
who you're talking to this morning and a little bit about the procedure.
Okay.
This side of the table, myself and Ms. Ashley Bale, who's our legal counsel. We're both employees here at the board. Other side, we have 4 of our pharmacy board members who are decision makers here for your application.
Hi.
Newsom, Brian Jolly, and Dr. Rodney Richmond. Dr. Newsom is actually the chair of our informal conference. We're here today. You have. Thank you, Jennifer. we have your application for a pharmacy technician permit. On that application, you told us that nothing would come back on background check, but we did find something, which what the board members are going to want to talk to you about for the most part. With that said, at some point after their discussion with you, they're going to make some suggestion for what they want to do. It could be to approve your application, deny your application, table it for future consideration, or ask for other details. Most importantly, whatever they decide, you can either agree or disagree with. If you agree with it, we go forth with exactly what they've asked us to do. If you disagree with what they've come up with, you have kind of two choices. One is to walk away from pharmacy and say, forget this. The other is to request a formal hearing before the full board at a future time. Full board, we call this informal, even though this is fairly formal. But a formal hearing is all 8 members of the board, a hearing officer, a court reporter. We swear everybody in, and procedurally, it just looks more like if you actually go into court. For people. So it's, for a lot of people, it's a little bit more stressful, and it's more official in the way that we go back and forth in presenting evidence rather than just having a discussion. So I was asked 2 things. Do you know why you're here today?
I do.
Okay. Do you have any questions about how this procedure works?
Not at the moment.
Okay. And that's a great way to put it, because at some point, if you do have a question about something that's happening procedurally, by all means, get our attention, wave your hand, raise your hand. If you've got questions about what's going on, we want to try to do our best to help answer those questions for you, realizing you've never sat in that chair.
Right. Okay.
So with that, I'm going to turn over to Ms. Bales for a brief overview of your application, and then we'll turn over the board members.
Ms. Stevenson filled out her pharmacy technician application. And in filling it out, she marked no with whether or not she had ever been arrested or cited for a criminal offense. We ran her background check and did find that on April 21st, 2014, she was arrested for possession of a controlled substance, methamphetamine, in Los Angeles, California. According to her statement, she was observed by law enforcement purchasing methamphetamine. She pled guilty to the charge and was placed in a diversion program for 18 months. The court deferred entry of judgment until she successfully completed the program. As part of the program, she was submitted to random drug screens, attended NA or AA classes, paid probation fees. She also entered a residential treatment program. She successfully completed the program, and then the case was dismissed. She submitted 2 documents for the board's review.
Okay, you want to tell us about what happened here?
Yeah. So I was raised in a very impoverished area of Los Angeles, born and raised. Unfortunately, I come from a very dysfunctional background. My father is a drug addict, and unfortunately, he is still in that disease. My mother has Munchausen's by proxy. As you probably can guess, it was very dysfunctional from the jump. Unfortunately, I was a very naive, vulnerable woman, and I didn't have a lot of resources at the time. I did not have the right guidance from adults at the time. I wanted to understand. I wanted to understand why this drug was all around me and why nothing was being done about it. It was very misguided of me. It was a huge mistake. When you're 18 years old, you don't, at least I can speak for me. When I was 18 years old, I didn't really understand what the consequences were. My mind setting at the time was, oh, well, I probably won't make it past 25. A lot of my family members didn't. It was a lot of self-pity, a lot of toxicity, a lot of negativity. And unfortunately, that one mistake changed my entire life. I have not been in trouble since. This happened almost 15 years ago. As stated, I completed my probation successfully. Never once had a positive urine analysis, meaning no illicit substances or alcohol was in my system the entire time. I faithfully attended 12-step meetings every single day. I have been clean for years. I am currently sponsoring other women in the 12-step program. That's pretty much where I'm at the moment.
And what brought you from California to Arkansas?
Well, I moved out of California when I was 21 years old. Again, I wanted to leave all of that behind me. aside from the fact I couldn't afford it. I just wanted to discover myself. I kind of went on a journey. I kind of moved all over. I always stayed clean. I always stayed sober. I just didn't know what I wanted to do at the time. I just kind of wanted to get out there and see what was out there for me. My partner is a bioengineer. She works at Baxter Lab in Mountain Home. That is why we're currently in Arkansas. She has been a bioengineer for 7 years now. When we moved to Arkansas, I didn't really have a plan. All I knew is I worked in sales continuously the past 10 years. So, you know, I wanted to get back into sales because it's what I enjoy. It's what I'm used to. At the time, I was working in Harps, like the general merchandise area. And, you know, I kind of looked at the pharmacy and I'm like, gosh, that looks just the way that they help people and just like the fulfillment you can see in their eyes, you know, it just looked like something I wanted to do. So I've been working in the pharmacy the past 7 months. And I really, truly believe that I have something of value to give those patients. A lot of them are stigmatized due to the medications they're on. I see the way that they're treated by others around them. Due to what I've been through, I have that empathy. And I mean, I wake up every morning, I memorize who they are, I memorize their preferences. Like, these people mean the world to me, you know, and I just ask you, give me a chance.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions of this candidate?
Realize this happened. And the fact that you completed all these things, you're to be commended. But I do just want to draw your attention, and I read your essay here regarding expungement of, or failure to be charged. But the question asks, have you ever been found in any civil, administrative, or criminal proceeding to have A, possessed, used, or distributed a controlled substance, and among other things, violated any state, federal, or local drug law? That doesn't say anything about being charged, cited, arrested, or expunged. It says, have you ever been found to have possessed or violated a state law, state, federal law regarding controlled substances?
Correct.
So just be clear, you have to read the sentences, and the only answer to that, given your background, would have been to answer yes. So were you trying to hide?
I was not. I printed, you're probably reading the essay. Yeah. Honestly, if you want me to be entirely honest, it was just going on autopilot. When I fill out an application, I'm so used to that question, have you ever been convicted of a crime? So that is on me for not sitting there and analyzing what that question meant. Again, kind of just going on autopilot, just assuming that's what it was asking. Have you ever been convicted?
Well, there are several questions that relate to that. And ours doesn't just say, have you been convicted, but it says, have you ever been cited, arrested for, charged with, or convicted? So we're asking if you've ever even just been arrested. And then the issue of whether it was expunged or sealed, that's a separate question by itself. Okay.
You have that document in front of you in that packet that you were given in the lobby. It's your application if you want to look at what he's referring to. It's on page 2 of your application.
I put some papers ahead, so I don't have to find it. I'm sorry.
There you go. Should be page 2.
Here we go. I see what you're referring to. I don't have a good answer. Again, and I'm just being completely honest with you. In my mind, those questions are, have you ever been convicted? I don't have a good answer. I'm just being 100% transparent.
In pharmacy, things are very specific. And if you just misinterpret or don't even bother to digest what's being asked, can make a big mistake. So this ask a direct question, the only answer to which, given your background, would have been yes, and you said no. But I recognize this was 10 years ago.
Dr. Boone, you have any comment?
And I see we did the final page of our electronic packet. It does have a letter from her pharmacist. Maybe the same letter.
I think it is. So did you disclose this to they're fully aware of everything?
They're fully
Or
aware.
Whenever, perfect there.
Her contact information is on there.
Are there any issues controlled substance wise from DEA or otherwise?
It was a misdemeanor charge or
It was a felony, but according to California law, it's not going to be treated as a conviction.
yeah.
Because she went through that diversion program and was dismissed.
It's, it gets weird. In Arkansas, we have some drug courts that enter the guilty plea. And so you actually have a conviction.
Did enter a guilty plea. According to the paperwork.
So it may be.
That's
I thought you
my-
meant at the store at first. I was
No.
actually done with the store.
No,
but-
that's my only concern is it's been 10 years. That doesn't bother me as much, but is there a liability?
A DEA waiver
A DEA
issue
waiver
could be.
issue. And that would, be something the store would want to know about.
Well, and we have had people with similar instances before where the board would say, table it at this time. If you are able to get a letter of clearance from DEA saying you do not, like, they have to look at what is exactly in that record for them to make that decision. If you can get a letter of clearance from DEA, then it will be approved.
I know it looks like you have questions and Dr. Kirtley will clarify that for you here in a second.
Okay.
So there's a thing with, under the Code of Federal Regulations, and we can give you a copy of this. There's a prohibition that a pharmacy cannot hire anyone and they have access to controlled substances at all. I mean, even really as a clerk, if you're
Okay.
checking people out, if they have ever entered a plea of guilty to a drug felony. Sometimes it depends on exactly how the court handled that procedure. And we're familiar with courts in Arkansas that do it two different ways. In one way, when the DEA sees that, they say this person would have to have a waiver from DEA, which they grant half a dozen a year in the country. I've been here 20 years and I've seen, I think, 2 in Arkansas. I think 2. Or they would say the way this one was handled, you do not need a waiver and you can work in a pharmacy. But we don't know how they'll do it until you or the store ask based on your specific court findings.
Gotcha. Okay.
I mean, for me, based on the length of the time and everything that she's gone through, I would not be opposed to granting her technician permit. But I think we've got to figure out the whole DEA situation first.
I think you'd say, you don't want to deny it. You're not giving her a
No.
negative action because you're basically saying if she can get that clearance from DEA, then you would approve it. So you could table it. We can try to help give her instruction on 1301.76 and give her the contact information for our local DEA office and see if they can clear it or not.
Would we just table it and bring her back based on the results of that?
They
or-
need to bring her back. at
I
that
think you
point.
just say table it and at whatever point we get notice that it's not an issue with DEA, then we could grant it. If they say that she does need a waiver, you probably need to see her back because it's if you have to get a waiver, this is going to sound crazy because it is a very extenuating process.
Okay.
if the DEA says that the way that that court handled it, from 2011 even, or 2011 solved in 2014, if they say you need a waiver, you can't apply for a waiver. A pharmacy has to apply for a waiver for you as a DEA like registered facility.
Gotcha.
And if you
Okay.
get a waiver, it's the store would get a waiver for you. So it would be like that one HARP store. Not all HARP stores, you can't take it and move it from one store to another. It's like they approve you to work in that location under a specific set of conditions.
Okay.
It's
It's
a weird thing.
understandable. I understand.
And the difficult thing, I mean, we have some where we can look at it and go, that absolutely looks like you're going to need a waiver. This one, they're going to have to research how exactly that court handled it.
Okay.
But and the problem is if we gave you a technician permit and the DEA went into that store and they think that you needed one, it is a gigantic issue for the store.
I totally get the liability issue. I definitely understand.
Do we need a motion for that?
I would.
So,
I'll make the motion. I think the motion is to table it based on the results of the clarification of the DEA waiver issue.
Yes.
And if she doesn't have to have a waiver, then
Staff can grant it.
can grant it.
And if she does need a waiver,
She comes back.
or if she gets a waiver, we could grant it.
Okay. Yep.
There's a motion.
second that.
Okay, a motion by Dr. Jolly, second by Dr. Boone. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Any nays? The motion passes.
So we'll reduce that to writing for you
Okay.
and we'll send you the specific federal regulation that it involves. That way, if your pharmacist has a question, I can help explain it to them.
More than likely.
They're welcome to give us a call. It'll probably have to be after Wednesday because we're in meetings first 3 days a week.
Okay.
And we'll include like our local DEA office contacts in
Okay.
it for you as well.
Okay.
Because it'll be way easier to talk locally about it than trying to get
Right.
someone in DC.
Right. All
Right.
right.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you. You guys have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Safe travels back.
Thank you.
On those twisty, windy roads.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought you were asking if there are any DEA issues with the store. I'm like, no, none at all. That's,
Because we
Yeah.
got one earlier.
I know. I think that's it before lunch. Means we might be able to get an early lunch in case anybody shows up early. Your last one's not here? Okay, then we will break until, if we're ready to go at 12:30 and somebody's here, we might be able to start back, but otherwise it'll be 1 o'clock.
I have to step out at 2 o'clock for a meeting.